I used to think cage fighting was for primitive troglodytes. Now I love it. It's for his 80th birthday. Trump had a fighting, what is it, UFC? I don't know what it is, actually. I didn't even look it up. I don't even care. It's a fighting match, like a boxing match, but a little bit tougher, a little bit grittier on the front lawn of the White House. That's never been done before, as far as I know. That's pretty weird. And it's so distasteful because it's this macho fighting. Why would a president who's supposed to be the leader of the free world sit there like a yokel watching two men beat each other up? Why would he do that? I mean, and put it on and put it on the front lawn of the White House. That seems like the worst thing a president can do. At least that's what I used to think. Now I'm open for everything. I mean, at this point, things have changed so much and gone so haywire that I think maybe it's a good idea. Maybe that's the right thing to do. I was raised from the 70s in kind of pseudo leftist progressivism, and that had all kinds of things, like it especially was machos. We call them machos and machismo are bad. So it's bad for a guy to be hyper masculine, very masculine. He's supposed to be a softie. He's supposed to show his feelings, and men who are masculine are destroying the world, are bad, and violence is bad, and masculinity wanting, muscles, wanting to be physically strong, going to a gym is a sign that you are not intelligent. That's what I learned in like the 70s, and I kept with it for most of my life, and then Putin, invaded the Ukraine, and I thought, well, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute, who's going to go out there and stop him? Because this is real. Bin Laden, killed 3,000 people by flying planes into high rises. That's real. People do that. Who is going to protect us from those people? Who is going to go out and take the gun and go out and shoot bin Laden? Who is going to go and stand on the border and not let, the criminals get in? Who is going to do the dirty work? It's the masculine men, of course. It's the men who, grow up fighting. It's the machos. It's like, and my father tried to tell me this when I was, in the 70s, when I was a progressive liberal. He would quote Kipling, and Kipling had a poem about, the soldier. And it's, in times of peace, the soldier is, considered is unloved and disliked, and it's all his fault, and he's the scum of the earth. But of course, in times of war, suddenly he's the great guy. Suddenly he's the hero, and but you can't have both. You can't say, well, we've got to stop Putin in the Ukraine, which is what leftists are saying, and men have to be, more like women. You can't have both. And so since this has happened, since this progressive idealism of the unmasculine man has become so prevalent, and now I'm worried that we're going to pay the price for that. At this point, I say, all bets are off. If Pete Hegseth wants to, have weird tattoos, go for it. If he wants to, or if Trump wants to rename the Department of Defense Department of War, which is what we're doing. We're not, when we send people to the Ukraine or Iran, we're not defending our own country. We're defending other countries. So we're going to war. We're not fighting. It's not a system of defense. We're not, on the beaches of California fighting off, the Russians coming in on rubber boats. We're sending our soldiers off to help in wars that already exist, just like we did in World War II. It was not our war. And so, it seems like kind of distasteful to rename the Department of Defense in the is it Department of Defense? It's called the Department of Defense in the Department of War. which is not official, by the way. It's Trump wants to do it. It has to be affirmed by Congress, I guess. Probably won't happen. But at this point, I'm saying, yeah, why not? Why not? Because all this progressivist ideal of the softy man did not work. First of all, I learned very, with my own experience in a very bad way, that women don't necessarily really like, or I guess most women don't really like softy men. They want the man who is willing to, put himself in the way of danger when it's time to do that. They want the masculine man. And of course, it's too late for me to be masculine now. It was always too late for me to be masculine. I'll never be the man that women want. But still, I don't trust this ideal anymore. And I think if the president is going to weird extremes to kind of fight against this softy ideal and try to bring back a little bit of self-respect for men, and he's doing it in extreme ways by putting I don't know, cage fighting or whatever it is, UFC, whatever that is, on the front lawn of the White House. I say, go for it. Maybe that's the right thing to do.